Welcome back to Spring Into Math 8. I'm Mr. Burns. Today's topic, we're actually going to continue talking about exponents, but today we're going to talk about negative exponents. Let's dive right in. What if you had an expression like x being raised to the negative 2 over x being raised to the negative 6th? What would we do? So let's talk about how we simplify this concept. Okay. First and foremost, here's the rule. Now you might want to pause this and write this down because it's definitely going to help you later for when you're studying for your exam. So the rule here says x being raised to the negative nth power. You actually need to take that exponent and make a fraction and put it on the bottom over 1. Always over 1. So we get x raised to the negative x raised to the negative n equals 1 over x to the negative n, where x can never be 0. Okay, let's apply the rule here. We have, inside our parentheses, we have x to the third power times y, and the whole thing is wrapped in parentheses and being raised to the negative 2. So let's use what we know from our previous lesson and distribute that negative power of negative 2 to what's on the inside of our parentheses. So we've taken that and we've multiplied it. So 3 times negative 2 is our negative 6. And our y times, which has no exponent, but 1 times negative 2 is going to give us that negative 2. So far we have x to the negative 6 times y to the negative 2. Now we need to get rid of those negative exponents. And the only way to do that is to make a fraction and put those on the bottom. So you can see here that I put 1 as my numerator over x to the 6th y squared. So we take our negatives, we stick them on the bottom. Don't forget to bring the base of the with you. You also need to bring the exponent. Okay, this one is a little complicated, and it's going to take us some time to walk through it, but pay attention. So our original problem here is a over b, wrapped in parentheses, raised to the negative third power, or negatively cubed. And we need to apply the distributive property and multiply the exponent what's on the inside of our parentheses. And you can see here we came out with a to the negative 3 over b to the negative 3. And we're going to space those two things apart and work with them individually, and then at the end squish them back together. So I've taken what's on top, a raised to the negative 3, and put that over 1. That way the problem hasn't changed in any way. And I'm multiplying that by 1 over b raised to the third power. Now I put b raised to the third power in the bottom because in our original question, b was already the denominator. Okay, now we need to get rid of our negative exponents. And the way we do that, again, is to put them either on the bottom of our fraction, or if it's already on the bottom, guys, we can actually move it to the top. Either way helps you get rid of that negative exponent. So now I'm going to flip them. I have 1 over a raised to the third times b raised to the third over 1. So I've just basically flip-flopped them, but by flip-flopping them, we've gotten rid of that negative exponent. And now we're basically going to multiply those two fractions together, which we learned how to do in 7th grade. So 1 times b raised to the third gives me b to the third, and a raised to the third times 1 just gives me a to the third. So my final answer, guys, at the very bottom of the screen here shows that it's b cubed over a cubed. So don't forget to move those exponents to the bottom or the top to get rid of the negative part. Okay, you may come across questions that ask you to express an expression with no fraction. And we need to be able to do this so we can learn the other rules of exponents. So the first one I've got here, guys, is 2 over x squared. Now I need to get rid of the fraction bar, and so in this case I need to take what's on the bottom and move it to the top. And when we move things around, we're actually going to have to add in a negative exponent here. So 2 over x squared is actually equal, with no fraction to 2x raised to the negative 2 power. Because I brought it from the denominator up to the top, I had to put in that negative sign with our exponent. Okay, the next one we have here on our page is 3 over x times y. And we need to get rid of our fraction bar. So we need to move what's on the bottom, our x and our y, to the top. So we can see here that my 3 stays. And when I move the x to the top of our fraction, I actually need to add in that negative exponent. So I have 3 times x to the negative 1. And I can't forget about my friend y. I need to bring him up also. And y also gets a negative exponent of 1. So 3 over xy with no fraction is written like 3 times x to the negative first times y to the negative 1. So in review, guys, simplifying expressions with negative exponents, we need to review the rule here. We have x raised to the negative n power is equal to 1 over x to the negative power, where x can never be 0. That's the most important part. Don't let x be 0. And I did another example here on the bottom for you to write it with no negative exponents. 3 times x raised to the negative 3. Let's get rid of that negative 3. We're going to bring the x and the negative exponent to the bottom of our new fraction. So the positive 3 stays on top, so I have 3 in my numerator, over x raised to the third power. And I got rid of that negative exponent. All right, guys, good luck solving. See you next time.